Hey, this is Wannabe. Um, I'm fixing to do a reloading video. This is going to be my first actual long video. I've got a couple of videos up that's just real stuff, short stuff. I have learned a bunch from other YouTube videos and other people on YouTube about reloading. And so I just figured I would make a video of my own, and maybe there's something, that people could learn from me, something I might do a little bit different that would make it easier for them. I know there's a lot of videos on reloading on YouTube, but this is my video. So anyway, we're going to be loading some 45 ACP. And anyway, I've kind of got it already started, as you can see. I don't know if you can see right there, but I've already got these primed, decapped, resized, primed, and the case mouth is bailed. So all I've got to do is put powder and a bullet, seat the bullet, crimp the bullet, and check them, and we'll have some loaded ammo. So I'm kind of starting midstream with this one, but anyway, this is my first one, so forgive me. I've got all kinds of brass. It's just various brass that I've shot, and I'm using Winchester primers. I'm loading 230 grain Rainier full metal jacket bullets. I've heard a lot of people badmouth these bullets. They say that the jackets are too thin, and which they are a very thin jacket. But if you'll take and bail the case mouth just a little bit more than you would for a normal bullet, kind of like if you were loading lead cast bullets, you have to bail that case mouth a little bit more than you would normally for a heavily jacketed bullet, because then it'll scrape lead off the side if you don't have it bailed enough. But if you'll do that with these bullets, they seat fine, and they shoot fine. They work for me, and they're cheap. That's the great thing about them, is they're cheap. Anyway, another trick, while I'm on being cheap, another trick, if you are thinking about getting into reloading, first thing you need to start doing is saving your brass. Don't throw any brass away. Even if you don't think you're going to reload that cartridge, don't throw your brass away. Save it, because even if you don't end up reloading it, you might find somebody that does, and you can give it to them. Don't ever throw brass away. Another thing, yes, save your boxes, because these little blocks like this, they work great for reloading boxes, and then you can store your reloaded bullets back in the boxes. And you don't have to buy those fancy little plastic ones. Which those fancy little plastic ones are great, and they're not real expensive, but just a thing to keep in mind. I save all my ammunition boxes and use them as loading blocks and whatnot, storing bullets and stuff like that, and works for me, and it's economical. But anyway, I have got my bullet seating die set. I've got my powder measure set. I'll be checking every 10th load. That's the way I do. When I'm measured by volume, I'll throw 10 loads, check, throw 10 loads, check. I always check on the 10th load. And a lot of times I'll check, my case length, or actually my coal length, which is a cartridge overall length, just to make sure that, hadn't nothing moved, which is very unlikely. Oh, I forgot to tell you, we're going to be using IMR PB powder. And I usually use Unique, but Unique's got to where it's just about extinct. You can't find it anywhere. So I found this, and usually when I start off with a new powder, I load up 10, 15 rounds, and I'll try them in my pistols, because sometimes semi-automatic pistols or rifles or whatever can be a little bit finicky. Sometimes the pressures aren't right, or you don't get enough recoil out of them to operate the mechanism correctly. So I loaded up 10, 15 rounds with this PV, and I actually like it, I think, better than the Unique. Unique's still a good powder, but the recoil wasn't quite as bad with this PV as it was with Unique. Which recoil's not a big issue with 45 auto, but it is a bigger cartridge, so it just wasn't as snappy as some other powders that I've used. So anyway, that's what I got in here, and I think I got everything set up. I got some bullets, got brass, and we'll get started. What I like to do is, and a lot of people don't do that, a lot of people will take their loading block and they'll have 50 cartridges set up with the case mouth up, and they'll prime or charge, all of the cases, and then they'll seat their bullets. That's okay, and people, that's fine. I don't do it that way, especially with my pistol cases, because you could actually put 3 of these charges inside this case here. I mean, you have enough room for, because this is a small charge. I think I'm charging them with 4.7 grains of that PB, and it's you could put 3 charges in there easy. So what I like to do is I like to charge and seat at the same time. I charge one shell at a time, and as soon as I get it charged, I seat the bullet. I put it back in here, and that just keeps me from double charging one. If the phone rings and I'm in the middle and I just put powder in one, I always put a bullet in it before I go do anything else or whatever, and that keeps you from spilling powder. That keeps you from double charging or not charging. It's just the way I like to do it, because I'm a little bit absent-minded, and sometimes I forget stuff. But the other thing is, with my pistol bullets, whenever I'm charging, I always keep them face down, and that eliminates a lot right there, because you can't have a charge already in it if it's upside down. Just dump it right out. So anyway, that's how I like to do it, and that works for me. But anyway, this is number 1. This powder measure I'm using is a very old powder measure. It's probably as old as I am. It was one my grandpa had, and I got it from him. And anyway, I like it. I've got a RCBS Uniflow powder measure, and I really like it too, but it just seems to work better with the bigger charges. This one seems to work better with smaller charges, because it's a lot smaller powder measure, and it's got a little bit finer settings too. It's got three different actual adjustments on it, one smaller than the one before it, so you can really fine tune it with this thing. But my Uniflow, I like it too. It just works better with bigger charges. They make a cylinder that's got a smaller diameter bore in it for smaller charges, and I thought about getting one of those, but I think that's like another $50. So I mean, this one works good. So I'm all about saving a buck. I have found when you're throwing charges with when it throws a charge by volume like this, two things that really make your charging consistent is kind of keeping a consistent amount of powder in there. You know, don't run it down all the way till you got, you know, just a couple of grains left in there. And the other thing, and the main thing, is a consistent turn of the handle. If you lag a little bit slower on one charge, it usually will have more powder in it. If you're a lot faster, you usually have a lot of less powder in it. And not a lot, but it'll vary a little bit. So if you can keep that handle throw consistent, it'll make the powder throws a lot more consistent. We're on the 10th one here. Let's check. Alright. Looking good. That's my RCBS 505 scale. And check with it most of the time just because it's a little bit easier. I got a digital scale, but it's a little bit finicky sometimes. So a lot of times I just break out this thing. Using a RCBS Rock Trunker press here. My daddy bought some RCBS dies back in the 70s. Bought 2 dies, and he was going to get into reloading. Well, he never did. And well, he bought the dies used too, so that just tells you how old them dies were. He never did. And so a few years back we started talking about getting into it, and we had toyed with the idea a few times over, and we just never did pull the trigger on it. So finally we did, and I'm glad we did. I really enjoy doing this. But what I was getting at was, because we had RCBS dies, we went ahead and bought everything RCBS, and really didn't know what all we needed, what all we were going to like, and you know, we just kind of jumped in feet first, you know, and which RCBS makes some really good stuff. I can't knock them, but I think we could have got by with maybe some cheaper stuff that would, you know, the quality might not have been quite as good as the RCBS stuff, but it would have been good enough for me. You know, I'm using Lee dies here, which Lee dies are very good quality dies. I haven't had any problems out of them. I've got RCBS dies. I think I've got a set of Redding dies, Lineman dies. So I've got a little dab of all of it. But if you're getting into this, just do your homework. Talk to some people that do reload. A lot of times they can tell you, you know, hey, you're going to use that. Hey, you're going to not use that. Don't buy one of those, and stuff like that. Just get on the internet and read. You got to take what you read on the internet with a grain of salt. Just like bullets here. Before I purchased them or ordered them, I read a bunch of bad reviews on them, and you know, people saying the jackets were too thin. And I really didn't think it was going to be a problem because I was just loading them, you know, with plinking rounds, just shooting some steel, and they had been a problem. I mean, I'm sitting here, I've loaded, you know, 20 rounds right there, and you know, you can see, you know, it's not having any problems. I'm not rolling the jackets or anything. But So, you got to take what you get on the internet with a grain of salt. Uh, I like shooting the 230 grain bullets in 45. I know you can get 200 grains and 185s. I like shooting at 230s because that was what was I think originally designed for the 45 cartridge was a 230 grain bullet. I might be wrong about that. I don't have, not a historian on the subject, but I do think that it was designed around that 230 grain bullet, and it just seems to work better. That extra weight seems to just make it work out better. I don't know, I just like slinging 230 grain slugs out of a 45, I guess. But I just want to mention on here, I guess as a disclaimer is, I've been reloading a good bit, and I've done a good bit of reading on the subject, but I'm not a expert or nothing like that. I've just learned by doing most of the time. I would recommend, if you're getting into this and you don't know if you want to get into it or not, and it might be a little bit overwhelming, but it's some really good information. If you could read a book, I don't forget the author, but it's the ABCs of Reloading. It goes into in-depth about several different facets of reloading, bullet casting, all kinds of stuff. And it was a little bit overwhelming when I read it, but we kind of went ahead and dove on into it, and a lot of the information became relevant, and a lot of it didn't. And I kind of understood, a lot of what the book was talking about once I kind of got into it. But that'll give you an idea, kind of what you need, what you don't need, how detailed you want to get with it. Because reloading is like anything else. You can spend as much money as you want to on it. And a lot of people do. They got $2,000 or $3,000 progressive presses and stuff like that, which I'm not knocking them. More power to them. But and I would like one day maybe to have a progressive press. But right now, this is what I got to work with here. But I got to yapping and I missed one of my checking my powder charges. Let's check this next one. And we're good. thing I done, before I started, reloading, I did watch some videos on YouTube about reloading. And there's a lot of people that's got some good information out there on reloading. Um, Alright, now that's 50 rounds that we've got charged and got a bullet seated in, and now they are ready for crimping. So what we're going to do is we're going to take our bullet seating die out. Now a lot of dies, like 3-set dies, have a crimp feature where you seat the bullet and you crimp at the same time. I'm not real crazy about doing that because I kind of feel like you're crimping as you're pushing the bullet down in there, and it's kind of one of those things I'm just kind of nitpicky about it, but I like seating and crimping in two different functions, and to me it just works better. But anyway, one thing I do like about these Lee dies, the 4-set dies, is if you look in there, it's got a sizing ring in it too, a carbide sizing ring, just like the resizing die. So if something has gotten bulged or overbailed or something like that, it straightens it out in the crimping stage, and it just basically resizes it as it sizes the brass in case anything is bulging or anything out. And I really like that. going to set this thing just flush with the shell holder at top. And just tighten the lock ring down. And then we just back this seating or crimping stem out. And what I like to do is put a shell in there, bring it up. See how that one caught just a little bit right there on the bell. And then I just screw it down till it touches the shell. Alright, and then I let it down. Usually I start off with half a turn increments. And what I like to do is up here on the top, I like to take and scratch me a line in the top of that die. Because a lot of these dies don't have any kind of indicator or anything like that about how much you're turning it. So now that I have the line scratched into the top of the die here, I can tell, that's half a turn, and I can, keep an eye on what I'm turning it in. Usually I start off with half a turn increments going down. And that ain't enough. I don't even think that touched it. And then once I start getting a little bit of a crimp, I break it down to 1/4 inch increments. And what I like to do is actually to take the shell and hold it up against a light in the back. I've got a light up here in the back, and I like to take the shell and actually hold it up against that and look at the silhouette of the shell. And you can actually see the mouth build out if you look at that silhouette up against a light. And so as I start to crimp it, I do the same thing. I look at it and I can actually look and feel when the appropriate crimp gets there. The 45 auto or ACP, you don't want to crimp it a whole bunch, because if you actually crimp it into the bullet, it head spaces on this rim here. So if you actually crimp that into the bullet where it's smooth, and I've actually bought some reloads that had happened, they were 9mm, but they would just go on down in the barrel, and they wouldn't catch. But see, the 45 auto, 9mm, 380, most of your automatic cartridges, they actually headspace on this rim right here. So you got to leave a little bit of a catch there for the bullet to stop in the chamber, and so you don't want to over crimp them by any means, but you don't want to under crimp them. You don't want to be slinging one of these bullets into the barrel when the action, stifles. So it's kind of you got to find a happy medium. And I learned some bullets when I was starting out doing this, over crimping. I don't think I've ever actually under crimped any. Most of the time with me, if a little good's a lot better. So it's like tightening bolts. If you ever work on something that I have worked on behind me, most of the bolts are probably over tightened. But we still need a little bit more. But that's something to keep on the sticky side of your brain, is it's kind of like with belling the case mouth. You don't want to bell it too much, because you overwork the brass and you end up cracking case mouse, prematurely, because the brass is working so much. That's just about perfect there. But then again, you got to get the bullet in there without boogering it up. So, and I just usually about the first 5 or 6 of these, I just check them to make sure everything looks good and that it's crimping like it's supposed to, And you notice I'm keeping track of the ones I've done and the ones I haven't done, so I just flip them over, this goes, you know, relatively fast. I really like this rock chunker press here. It's a very strong framed press. This is an O-frame, and well, you know, basically you have two types of frames. I think it is. You have the C frames, which, you know, a lot of your that small Lee is, you know, it just comes here. It doesn't have this reinforcing bar in here. But this is an O frame because it goes, you know, it's a complete circle there. And loading little cartridges like this, it actually is a little bit, it's a lot of bit overkill. And actually that bar right there actually gets in the way. That and your stroke is so long, you know, because it's got plenty of space in here for bigger cartridges, you know, for longer cartridges like 30-06 or 300 Winchester mag. You know, it's got plenty of space in here, so you end up with a long stroke. Whereas a smaller press with less space in here would have a shorter stroke. So this press is really overkill for 45, but I had to kind of get an all-around one when I got it. And I wanted something strong enough to do 30-06, which there are a lot of presses that are C-frames that can handle 30-06, but just because it can handle it doesn't necessarily mean that it's going to handle it for a long time. I mean, you can pull a 20-foot trailer with a 4-cylinder Toyota Tacoma, but the strain that it's going to put on the motor is probably going to prematurely wear the motor out, you know. So it's kind of the same idea here. Just because it will do it doesn't necessarily mean it's going to do it for a long time. So I've really been really enjoyed this this press here, we have got 50 rounds of 45 ACP crimped There's one more thing I'm going to do, and that's going to check them. I take them and put them in a gauge. I do not have my 45 gauge here with me, but this is my 9mm gauge here. But this just checks, you know, this basically it's like the chamber of your gun, you know, and if you'll take and, you know, slide the cartridge down in that, as long as it you know, slides down in that and fits and doesn't hang up or anything like that, it'll go in the chamber of your gun. And I don't have my 45 one here with me, or I'd show you. But anyway, this is my first real YouTube video with any length to it. And so y'all forgive me. I'm going to be doing some more where I go through the whole reloading process, from, you know, cleaning the brass to preparing the brass. I had to start kind of in the middle with this one, but I'm going to be doing some more. Once I check these, they'll be ready for the range. So I hope y'all enjoyed it. All right.